All right, folks. Welcome to episode 3. Oh my gosh, we're already on 3.
Boom.
Uh, I have with me on the upper right-hand side of the screen, Nick Janssen, a new member
Oh
of the
yeah,
FilmGear Ambassador family. So,
absolutely.
Nick, tell me about what's going on. Like I hear right now, you're not even in America. Like,
No, yeah,
oh
that's
wait, real quick. You do director, producer, or grip gaffs?
what I
What do
do.
you
What's to
primarily
do?
title yourself as?
I no. Well, my primary title is I'm a director of photography, but I also gaff, and I also just work in the camera department for people that I really like, and that's basically what I do. But I definitely try to push the boundaries and push the envelope in the DP scene. But well, I don't want to go into the story right now already, but when in Holland I was a DP, but when I go to the United States and you start everything from scratch, you have to hustle, and you cannot just start out as a DP right away. So you meet people, and then you do all kind of jobs within the camera and light department. But yeah, I'm definitely pushing the DP thing because that's basically what I want to do. And that's what I
Oh,
am.
so you started filmmaking in Holland, right?
That's right.
Around what age did you start?
Well, I always think that it was pretty late. I wish it was earlier. I think I was like 18 or something. Um,
So right around like the conclusion of high school.
yeah, exactly. So I never studied anything. And it's kind of funny because we had a film club at the end of the week at high school. At the end of the week, the last hour, everybody was gone. Only the film nerds would be there, and I was
Of course.
there. And we had this teacher that I didn't know anything about filmmaking back then. I liked history. I wanted to become a history teacher. So I was sitting at these film club lessons, and we, for example, watched The Gladiator, and he was like, this is a movie from Ridley Scott, and then I realized that people could actually, do this stuff for a living. And from that moment, I think that was the seed. Basically, that was the start of the whole thing in the back of my mind.
So starting
Yeah,
from history, you wanted to get into history, you pivoted into filmmaking because of the
that's
right
true.
movie that kind of showed you how filmmaking can present history.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, I think so.
Ah,
You know where it all comes down to, and that's something I actually realized like 1 year ago. It's all about storytelling, and I always like stories, and that's the core of everything, I guess. Yeah. So yeah. But it's not like I tried to do film school because when you're in this school period, like high school and all that, you get used to doing homework. So it's like, okay, let's do a course or anything like that for the film academy in the Netherlands. But I didn't go into the school. They didn't accept me because I was too young. And I was like, sorry, I'm
we'll
not, I
censor
don't,
it.
okay.
We'll
Yeah,
censor it in post.
perfect. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I'll look after my language. But I was like, no, I'm not gonna, you know what? I'm gonna do it myself. And then I always wanted to do narrative, I guess, but I didn't really know what it meant. I was just discovering the whole, what is a camera, and how to work with it and how to, how does the whole thing work. And I actually started filming my brother, which is a dirt bike racer. And before I knew it, I was doing documentaries about this entire scene. And that's basically how I started. So I didn't start, from a normal fashion, I guess. So I started basically being a jack of all trades and start doing documentaries with this dirt bike sport and start telling stories there until I got tired of it. And I started and then I wanted to do more narrative stuff, and I started working with another buddy of mine, and that slowly you
Were you
evolve.
still over in Holland when you were transitioning out of doing dirt bikes, documentary into more
Yes.
narratives, or like at
Yes,
that point?
yes. No, the big, like, I started when I was 18, and the first 9 years, all those years until last year, the 15th of May, those have all been in Holland. So I've been,
Oh, oh,
yeah, yeah.
you're super new here then.
Oh my God, yeah, 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 yeah. I landed in your beautiful country the 15th of May last year. Yeah. So yeah, it's still very new, and I don't know, man. It's kind of a hustle, to be honest, to get there and to start working in the United States, because of visas, and that's all stuff I have to deal with, and that's really, you have to prove a lot. You have to prove extraordinary ability. You have to prove that you won awards and that, people recommend you in the business and all that kind of stuff. So that took me a year. Yeah, that took
How
me a
did
year.
you like make your way here? Like, was it a program, or did you do it through like family, or?
No, after I did my documentaries about that dirt bike stuff,
Mm-hmm.
those were pretty successful. Like the camera I have behind me is still because of that documentary. I remember I just bought it right away, and because when you make a movie in a very niche market, everybody wants to see that movie, and they don't want to see it only once; they want to see it twice. And it was in the theaters, all over Europe. It's a crazy adventure. So after that, my wife actually said to me, because she didn't really like the dirt bike scene, and she said to me like, dude, you do everything by yourself right now, you have to go to Hollywood. That's where the magic happens, because she really likes the classic Hollywood movies and all that stuff. And I was like, I mean, that's so far away. I mean, how can I get ever? And then I was young and naive, and I still am. So I was like, let's just give it a try and see what I have to do. So we went to the United States, and this was like 2014. And I was like, well, I made these documentaries all by myself. Everybody in the United States should, that's seriously how I thought in a way. Everybody should be able to, wants to work with me, because whatever. So then
You
I
came in
came
with
to the
kind of
United
an
States.
ego in a way.
Definitely. No, definitely. I'm honest about that. So then I remember we landed, and then I quickly realized that it's very different from what I imagined. In a way, that's still there. Obviously, the core of the industry is there, and I
Mm.
learned that that's the place that I want to be. That's the place I want to make movies, and that's the place where all the magic happens, in my opinion. But it's not that easy, and you have to build a body of work. You have to build a show reel. You have to build relationships. That's where it's all about. So it took me, and also the visa. I remember I really had to go for that, and it took me then like 2 or 3 years to like build a reel and dive deeper into the narrative scene, because honestly I didn't work with a real crew until then. It was just me and my buddy and some friends. But then I learned a lot, and yeah, and then I went for my visa, and then I got that, and that's how I came over. And yeah, I do it all by myself. It's everything, even that visa, that stuff costs money and a lot of time. My whole life is about this. Everything is about this. It's always been since I started. And there's only one goal. And I can go to do a little bit of filmmaking in Amsterdam, but it doesn't it's no it's I'm just very interested in what they make in the United States. And I see how, for example, Hoyte van Hoytema, you might know this cinematographer. He's the most successful Dutch
Mm.
cinematographer right now, and he says, man, I would really like to make movies in Holland, but it would be such a shame to land up in a street with producers that have like zero money, and you can never really do a lot of things, because there's always this huge stress because of budget, because of many things. While I can work in the United States, and there I have a lot of more access to equipment and everything, and it's just the industry is way bigger. And I listen to those people. I'm definitely not on a level or whatever path that Hoyte is, because he's insane. But those are, then I'm like,
Some of your
I'm young.
inspirations.
Yeah, definitely, and that's when I went, and that's when I made the bold move for, what a lot of people would think. But
What
yeah.
what were some things you had to do to finally work your way up to at at least reasonably paid gigs? Like, because I take it when you first came here, you
Yeah.
it's not like you came in like making top
For
dollar on
sure, for
whatever project
sure.
that you're getting
But
on,
that, but
right?
that's something that I learned when I went to the United States for the first time. And I listened to a lot of podcasts, a lot of DPs. I knew, like, okay, if you start out there, it's a jungle. You start from zero. You're nothing. You're nothing. Everything
Dog
that you
eat dog
accomplish
out here.
yeah, no, seriously, everything that you accomplish in your own country, nobody cares. And I really had that mindset, and I accepted that, and I was ready for the hustle. So yes, I moved like 9 times in a half a year, all over the city. I started, and as a camera guy, as a DP, no, I didn't start with DP gigs. I started out with doing like editing. I mean, editing was the first because I'm also an editor. I don't want to do that, but I can. I'm fast with that kind
Yeah,
of stuff too. So I started doing that, and I saw there are a lot of people looking for editors in LA, and
because nobody wants to
uh,
be an editor, so that's
for
always in
sure. No, it's
demand.
true. Yeah, no, that's true. So I gave into that, and that's
Hmm.
how it kind of started. And luckily, and this is why I talk with you. I'm surrounded now with, luckily, Nicola and Taylor. Honestly, those are the two guys that I really grew a very, very tight relationship with, and those are the two biggest treasure for me that I got after like half a year of hustling and going through the weed, man. Seriously, it was hard to find those guys. But now, it's the same with you guys. Now you start building this community, these relationships, these people. And that's when stuff really started happening until COVID-19 happened, because there was so much beautiful stuff in the can that was.
Yeah, I heard like you guys had a really cool project coming up, and then just suddenly, whoop, everything just went out the window.
It's
And
like,
then
like all we have
Nicola just
these.
mentioned like you probably won't be picking anything up till like potentially early next year, based on
Mhm,
just so much up in the air.
true. Yeah, that's crazy. But that's mostly because we would have been working on, yeah, on feature projects right now. I mean, we wouldn't even probably be in LA right now. We would have been in Europe shooting a feature or something like that. That was all ready. But no, so that will be 2021. That doesn't mean that I want to keep my ass here
Hmm.
in Holland, because nothing happens here. Yes, I'm doing the jobs that I did before, corporate editing, making a little bit of a living, but all the passion, man, is it was all there, and it still is. I'm talking with Nicola and Taylor like every day, and we're hyping each other up, and we're all, the engine is starting up again. Also for Taylor, because we all have been going through this crazy phase where you really start to, see your lives from a different perspective, like what I'm actually doing. Should I be doing this? Yes, I should. And yeah, so it's interesting. It's for the good, but not too long. For me, it's very smart to move sooner than later, because when I'm too late, I'm replaced. That's the way I feel. So, damn, I will
Yeah.
be back in August. Simple.
Did
Yeah.
you are you like on vacation over there and then just end up getting stuck there, or
There
like
was no
how did?
vacation, man. The thing. This is the case. So when COVID-19 broke out, and it started in Europe first, right? And I
Hmm.
saw that the flights from Europe to United States got canceled, and you couldn't fly anymore. That's when I was like, all right, so this stuff is actually more serious than I thought. What should I do? Because I have asthma, which I don't have. It's not a big deal.
Hmm.
I did have a kidney disease back in the day. I still have, but I don't suffer from it. But I have to be careful. I didn't know how serious this disease was, and I know that the healthcare system in Holland is very advanced, and my family is there. I was like, okay, I go back home for a month or a few weeks. That turned out differently. I'm still here, but
Yeah.
yeah, no, I had to. It took me a few days to really let go of my passion and my life in LA and everybody. And I remember being on the phone with Taylor about, he's like, dude, no, you shouldn't go, man. Talk with me about it. You should talk with me about it. No, man, it's not such a big deal. It isn't that. But I still, I did it. And I think in the end, it's a good decision.
Hmm.
It's all right, because the whole industry, I mean, you guys know, everybody knows about it. Everything slowed down.
Yeah, it was slowed down to like a halt.
That's crazy. I mean, how did you guys experience that?
Well, like it was all like we were just still kind of in a way not taking it too seriously,
Right.
just because it, they're in the beginning phase. Yeah, like there's a lot of talks of it, but we're all getting mixed messages from like all these different sources. So then out of nowhere, suddenly the news started popping up with like, oh, so Hollywood's going to start shutting down, and this and that was starting to shut down. And so we had to temporarily halt operations, and we've been waiting on things to open up. But then for like a while, like up until I think last Friday, well, when you guys see this podcast, it may be a few Fridays from now.
Mm-hmm.
But like the insurance companies didn't want to cover anything, so like nobody could get permits without insurance. And then now I'm
Oh well, yeah,
hearing
there you
that
go.
like SAG actors are being told not to sign on to any contracts involving COVID because of COVID. So like a lot of union projects are having difficulties like being filmed. So it's just
Mm,
been so nonstop. But
yeah.
we're trying to keep a positive perspective on things. Like right now, we're offering like a lot of deals for folks so they can stock up on equipment, because as soon as things open up, I 100% firmly believe that the industry is going to fly as soon as things open up, like fully open up,
Mm-hmm.
just
Mm-hmm.
because everyone's parked on some money that they've been saving up.
Oh yes.
And then
Yeah.
like streaming services like Disney and Netflix have just been racking up money this whole time and not really spending money on projects. And
Mm.
their content are, weren't designed to go for this many months and be relevant, so they're gonna need new stuff soon. So yeah, I'm really hoping and believing that as soon as things open up again, like if you don't have equipment and you're not ready to shoot, then whoever's looking for to hire out is just going to go on to the next team, and you're just going to keep calling. So we're encouraging folks
Mm-hmm.
to prepare and invest in yourself, and
Yes. Yeah.
pick up whatever you think you might need, because you want to be the first to call and respond right away.
Right. That's it. That's just, I feel the same way about it. I mean, I don't want to miss out on that ocean of, work and when everything starts up again. I want to be there. I don't want to be here because then, oh my God, no, I just can't. And that's kind
Yeah,
of, but it's hard. It's hard. I don't know when. Nobody knows. And,
we still don't
we're,
know.
yeah, we still don't know.
Like
I'm
now
talking.
we're hearing that things are starting to close back down, so I'm like, oh geez. Like
Tell me about that. So is that what's going on in California right now? Is there a second wave coming or what's going on right now?
we're just hearing that there's numbers going up, but California itself hasn't re-shut down. It's more like there's a
Hmm.
few other cities that have started shutting down outside of California,
Hmm.
but fingers are crossed right now. I mean, I know that like right now in the industry, I spoke with a friend, and he was telling me that like on set they're running with all skeleton crew now. Like
Right.
when like they were doing a job where when it would take about 15 people normally to unload a truck and prepare the location, now there was like 5.
Five. Exactly.
So
Yeah.
that's pretty insane. Like that they're still trying to make it work, but it's such a drastic difference in manpower and what, like I think things are going to take longer to shoot too.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
So
Yeah. 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 It's something. It's something. Yeah. Yeah. I've been
so
trying. Yes. Sorry.
what project did you work on where you first got introduced to Taylor and Nickelo?
That's a good question. Every single relationship. I started with nothing in LA, so everything is just super random how it happens. And I happened to move in with a Russian guy at some point. And no, I remember. So when I started out, I started like for 2.5 weeks on the sofa of a Dutch
Just
guy
couch
that I
surfing?
yeah, couch surfing. Yeah. So for 2.5 weeks I was doing that, and I was reaching out on every single forum or whatever, even on Facebook, like, hey, I'm here, I have some equipment with me, I'm ready to go, And I was like, I didn't give a shit even. I just want to be on set because when you're used to being on set, you just want to do that.
You just
And
start itching for it.
oh, definitely. And then there was a guy. He said, "Hey, man, I have an Alexa Mini, and I have Lomos, and I have this and that. I come and check it out. Just come over." And I was sitting on the couch, and every single. I mean, I don't care how long the drive would be. I was down in Irvine, by the way, at that point, so it's like 1.5 hour down from LA.
Ooh, you missed LA
Uh,
by about an hour.
yeah, well, yeah, I don't know, but I was going up and down to LA at that point because I was just that's where everything happened. So I went to
Hmm.
this guy, and there, I will never forget that moment because on the sofa right there was Mr. Taylor Clemens. And with the first word, the first sentence we spoke to each other, there was this connection that never basically stopped. I still feel this is the brother that I was looking for my entire life, because I've never met someone that is the same as I am if it comes to this extreme obsession with the craft and just can't stop. And we're just two lunatics together. But it's always been here in Holland, um, people live their lives, people have a passion for something, but in the end, in the weekend here, especially here where I'm from, people go and just chill, which normal people do. And I think I'm not normal, I'm crazy, I'm always doing this stuff. And he's the same in that, and he's the first ever that I met, and really, so, well, whatever. From him, he worked at the most legendary camera rental place ever, which is now a myth. It doesn't exist anymore. That company doesn't exist. Well, what's the name again? Oh my God, King Film.
King
My
Film?
God, King Film. King Film. That is. Well, that's another story. It's yeah. So, but that's also he worked for that rental company. He worked for that company, and Nicola worked there as well. So that's the way I met them.
Oh, that's how you guys both all met then. That's pretty funny. So what
Yeah.
was
Oh my God.
the first words that y'all spoke to each other that just like you two knew right away, like you had a thing?
Well, I think the biggest thing was it's mostly what I studied. I mean, as a cinematographer, a lot of cinematographers listen to the Wandering DP. That's a guy that has a podcast,
Mm-hmm.
and he is kind of like a holy grail for when you're I'm an aspiring DP. I was listening to this guy 24/7. And I never met someone that did the same thing, and that was Taylor. So when we started talking about it, we would just share knowledge and experience, and all
Just
the
like
time.
nerding out,
Oh my
right?
God. Yeah. Super, super boring for other people. But we finally found a soulmate that was in the same kind of nerd. Yeah. So that's basically how it was. And Nicola in general, Nicola is obviously he's from Europe, Macedonia. I think that's within Europe.
Yeah, I think so.
It's a shame that I don't know. But yeah, so that's funny. But we Europeans, there's some personality stuff we kind of connect in a way. I don't know how. But yeah, that's also from scratch. And he's just a wonderful, so funny, amazing producer director. Yeah, I don't know. It's just from the heart. I see in LA. I've been on a lot of sets now, and there are a lot of finding the right people to work with, the people that are super talented and passionate, but also are very true as a person. Really, where you really feel an intimate connection with. Sometimes that's hard to find.
Yeah, and
Because
so that's probably one of the most important things of being on set too. You need people that you synergize with, because
exactly,
you're all there for like 12 hours plus.
There you go.
Right?
Man, in no time, within no time, I mean, yeah, that's the magic of it. It's quite intense. Yeah, definitely. So yeah, then we started working together.
You said that you came over with your camera. Like, which
Mm.
camera was that one? And at what point in your career did you finally pick up your first camera?
Well, my first camera, my very first is when I basically started, it was like a handy cam, but this camera
Like the
behind me
Sony
now it's
Handycam?
oh my God, yeah, no, it's simple like the one that parents buy for their to film their
Yeah,
children.
little family films and
Oh my
stuff.
God. Yeah, that's how I started, man, and started zooming in and out. That was the bomb. But that quickly changed, and I'm happy that I had a camera on tape after that. I didn't know anything about anything, so it's like I still don't know why I did that. But like that was like a bigger camera, like a shoulder. I was like, this is that's the shit. It looked cool. So it was a bigger camera with a tape inside of it. I'm happy that I experienced that because a lot of people these days don't. But then, yeah, that slowly evolved into the DSLR revolution, actually. So the Canon, the Rebel T2i, so the Canon 550D, and that was a revolution back then. I remember that. And
Oh, yeah, to
from
be able to
there,
take pictures and shoot high quality videos all in the
well, like,
same
especially
machine.
with the
Like,
lenses, dude, with the depth of field, everything
oh
started to
yeah.
be cinematic. So from that, I made the step to the Sony FS700 with this slow-mo function because I did, this dirt bike stuff. That was great. That was revolutionary back in the day.
Was Sony? Which Sony did you transition to?
It was the FS700. So it was the first one that did
700.
like super slow motion, which was only 240 frames a second or something.
Ooh.
But whatever, yeah, that's old now. And from that one, I went over to the camera behind me, which is the Red Epic, which is still with the MX sensor. So now it's old, but well, it still, you know, does its job, and that's okay. I just kept it to my side. At the same time, I don't want to shoot with this camera too much anymore. When I have my own project, I lean much more obviously towards the Alexa and stuff like that. But it's just good to have a camera with me. I mean, now here I run it back home and I'm just testing all the time, a lot of stuff. It's just always good to have a camera around as a camera
Yeah,
guy.
it's a camera. It's driving to be a DP.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah.
So what? You say you're striving to be a DP. Like what do you feel differentiates a camera person from the actual DP, and you know, like what
Mm.
direction or more skills do you think you need to take on in order to finally be considered a DP?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think a lot of people have different opinions about that. I'm listening also to the Roger Deakins podcast these days, like
Mm-hmm.
24/7. I mean, a DP, like a true director of photography, I feel you have to have such. I mean, that's the way I envision it. Some people say, well, you know, you're a DP. Yes, I take care of the lighting composition and all that, because I think that's the biggest difference between an operator, a camera guy, the guy that just frames up, compared to a DP. You're literally a director of the image, which conveys like the lighting and the mood of it, and you control departments. You are the director over, for example, an operator. It's much more than just a camera guy. There's so much more story and emotion compared to, well, when I think about a camera guy, I think about someone working for, television, being on the street, interviewing people. DP is much more than that. It's much more of a directorial function. And going, yeah, there's a lot of studying that has to be done in order to, to be that. I think understanding of light, understanding of camera, even color science, even understanding of makeup, uh, all of that stuff, and really in depth. Yeah, it's a lot, and it's a big responsibility, but it's beautiful.
So it's like to become a DP, you have to have enough experience in as a gaffer and as a camera operator,
Mm.
potentially some makeup department, and like
Yeah,
just pick up all the necessary skills from all that and pull it together
mm,
to have what it is, like the prestige class level of a
yeah,
DP.
no, yeah, exactly, a prestige class level. Because yeah, I am a director of photography, but I'm learning so much. I mean, I always feel like I just started. In a way, that's not true. But in a way, when I look up to the big guys, I'm like, what am I? There's so much to learn, and it's all the experience and going around with a light meter. And what I've been doing these days is I have a light meter in my pocket, and I just,
Mm-hmm.
I point my hand forward and I look at it. I'm like, I think this is a T2. Measure 2.8. Okay, what is it? And just try and learn, train your eye, those kind of things. I think that's from the technical side of things. That's important. But in the end, um, it's all about the story. It's a cliche, but that's true.
Yeah.
And that's what we are, storytellers. So, yeah,
Visual storytellers, right?
definitely. Definitely.
So, like, we're currently, because you said you're more camera operator, but have you dabbled in like some of the other fields, and like, how do you like them in comparison to doing camera operating? Because it sounds like your focus is still camera operating, like, but then all the others are like secondary skills that you're picking up along the way, right?
Hmm. I've been so at some point, when I did my documentaries back in the day, you do everything by yourself.
Yeah,
So
one man
I
army.
exactly, you know how that works. So
Yeah.
I remember that the biggest compliments, that I was lucky to get was about my framing, my natural sense of composition, all that kind of stuff, and that I was able to express myself with the frame. In the beginning, I didn't understand what that meant, but then later on, I had to. I had people were. I mean, I could make a decision like, what am I going to do? Because I knew that, especially in the United States and even higher up in the industry, you have to like choose a path. You cannot do everything by yourself, obviously.
Yeah, you have to
So
have
I was
a
like,
specialty, right?
of course. So what am I going to do? And I know that directing, I mean, I also, I did all everything. So I also wrote scripts for my own, like I almost did it was almost a feature, like a 52-minute thing, all narrative, short films. I wrote all of those things. So I have, I have knowledge in all these things a little bit. So I know that directing is something, I know what I want. I have a vision. I'm very sensitive for acting and script writing and how I think a story should be told. But at the same time, I knew, especially because I was thinking, about the United States all the time. I was like, well, starting as a director in LA, well, first of all, come there with a lot of money and prove yourself. Go and make a movie, and hope it gets somewhere. And I don't have that kind of money. I know a Dutch director that went there with $100,000, and he didn't achieve anything with $100,000. And he was lucky in another way to get it done. But he was also, mostly when people, especially in Europe, make this move that I did, they are in their 30s, they're 35 or 40. Like Paul Verhoeven is one of the most famous Dutch directors in Hollywood. He was 47 when he moved to the United States. Then he had this body of work, and then he could start going, well, I'm a lot younger. So I was like, I decided like 4 years ago or 3 years ago, I'm going to focus on DPing and lighting and camera. So, because it comes more natural to me, especially in the composition side of things, because I started in documentary and lighting came later. And that's something I'm now, completely obsessed about. That's basically, and especially also because I've been an editor, also in narrative a lot. It really helps. It really helps to have knowledge in all these things, I think. And I think that a lot of people are just so focused on, DPs, so focused on just being a DP. It's so important to know script writing, to understand story, and to understand a little bit of everything, and then focus on your craft. So that's the way I think.
How has editing, like having a really good background in editing, helped you as a DP or camera operator?
I think juxtaposition of shots. So when you think about a scene, know what works, basically. Know what works, know what angles work, already know what the audience is going to feel when you cut from one shot to another.
So it's almost like you're editing in your mind as you're shooting.
Definitely.
So then it
definitely.
helps you pick like more efficient shots and not have any like moonshots type of things where you're like, oh, this will work, but then turns out you never actually even used that shot for anything. Right?
Exactly. You're not on set to just shoot like, oh, this is cool. I think this, but when it doesn't cut together, then man, I mean, that's a problem. Especially
Waste
if it
like
comes to
a couple of hours
continuity.
setting up the scene.
Especially continuity and all that stuff. Eye trace, eye lines, and all those things like the 180-degree rule. Yeah, everybody knows about it. Why doesn't it work? I know how it is to work with footage that doesn't cut together, or there's a fine line between, and when actually when you should do it for a story reason, perhaps it does work. So that really helps. Yeah, definitely.
Since you did come from like doing sports filming and then going into narrative, what are some of the major differences you see in between the two, and like what are some things you liked from each and weren't too about?
Well, because that the whole dirt bike stuff, it's racing, so there's a lot of speed involved. So automatically, like moving around with the camera, and especially, I remember when I started going into narrative, I really had a fast, in the quick way, I had grip on action scenes. Obviously, because of action,
Oh,
just speed
because
in
you've already been
general.
shooting action scenes your whole life.
Yeah, I was moving my camera, but now, so that was, that really helped. And actually coming from documentaries, I think one of the big advantages is that if I compare it to some other people that I see shooting, is you have to sometimes make decisions fast, and especially as a DP, it can take forever to set up a shot. You can tweak until the end of time. But I really learned how to keep the pacing, how to keep going, and sometimes just go with it and just realize that the moment itself, especially for actors in narrative, when you feel someone is really into it, and you just have to start going and don't wait for that little background thing where you were working on in the lighting department or whatever. No, the moment itself, like the acting, the performance is in the end most important. The story, the performance, that is what is important.
Oh,
And to make that shift, like mentally, okay, boom, let's go for it. Forget about all the other little tweaks and go for it. That I think the support, make decisions fast. Yeah, that's what I learned from. That's the biggest thing I got it. I got from
that's really
that.
cool. Like, I've never even considered like sometimes you just gotta let go all those little micro perfections,
Yeah.
and if the mood is right, that actors and like got their head on straight for that scene and it looks
Oh my God.
good, then like sometimes you can end up creating some miracles without even realizing it, right?
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. Well, because I mean, it's much more valuable to have that actor, completely crush it, nail the whole thing, than, get him or her out of the whole thing because you're tweaking to, you know what I'm saying. So yeah, it's priorities. But that's the way I like to work. Yeah, definitely. But the counter, the other side to that is sometimes I feel that sometimes I can ask for more time, because at first, like a first AD would come to me and like, okay, how are we doing? And I was like, 2 minutes, we should be ready. I could have had even 10 minutes perhaps, but like the first AD is happy with it, like 2 minutes, I'm like, okay, let's go. And then later on, we're ahead of schedule. And like Taylor is looking at me because that's the way me and Taylor, for example, work. When I work for him, I gaff for him, and when he works for me, he gaffs for me. And he's like, "Dude, I mean, you definitely could have taken a little bit more. We could have done this and this and this." I'm like, "Yeah, because I always felt this rush a little bit. I have to take more time and really push for my own. There's this fine line, this balance, which is it's a sensitive thing. But that's something I'm learning, definitely, on set.
Mm. Yeah. What are some of the like interesting things that you've had to overcome on set, like some of the challenges um, so far since you
Mm.
came here?
Oh my
I take it
God,
that you probably have
man.
like a few interesting stories.
Oh my God, man. No, but you have a lot of, I hear when you move to LA for the first time, like your first year, everybody has their own LA story.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, I've been on sets, and I haven't even been that. Then I was like, or operating or whatever, not even DPing. But I think there were like 3 sets where the organization of the whole thing was so crappy that they just kicked us out. You just land up on the street. And that's a
What?
crazy story. Yeah, man. The most ridiculous things, like you have a director that makes an agreement on shooting at his best, like his friend's house at like 10 p.m. or something, and then the director, the director is like 2 hours late, and 15 minutes before the rep time he shows up, and we go into this house, and his friend is like, dude, what are you doing here? You have to be out of here in 15 minutes. And then we're just like, okay, let's do it in 15 minutes. This is ridiculous. This is all ridiculous. And then we start shooting, and after 15 minutes his friend is like, dude, you have to go. And then he still tries to keep shooting, and then in the end he's like, okay, that's it. He plugs out the lights and out of the street, and that's one friendship gone. And there you are, man, with
Wow.
everybody on the street. Those kind of things, I couldn't even imagine that this would happen. But that's on one hand. That those
Right.
are, I had like three situations that happened. On the other hand, like the last short film I did, I was working with people that are very worked into the Hollywood industry, that worked on it like their entire lives. And we had like one guy that was just doing the smoking machine all day, and he was getting paid for it. You know what I'm saying? So that was like a legit set, and that's the best experience of my life in a way. And I love that, man. Honestly, all those crazy stories I can go. There are a million extreme stories I can tell you, but it's all worth it. I love it. I really, that's one of the reasons why I want to get out of my comfort zone here in Holland. Everything is safe. Everything is the same. People are walking the same circle every single day. And I was done with that. I wanted to go out there and see what's going to happen. And I'm enjoying the ride, man. I still am. So, yeah.
Well, We can't wait to get you back over here, dude. Like,
Yeah, I can't wait
like
to see you guys again.
hearing, the way that you're speaking about your passion over here, it's so true. Like every filmmaker here that I've met so far are 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 not just doing it for like the money or the fame. It's because
Exactly.
they love the experience. They love the stories that they get out of it. Not just the stories that are being told, but the stories that they get out of being in the process
Right,
of creating
right,
the
right.
story. And
Yeah,
it's just endless passion and excitement. And I don't know anybody in any other industry out there that's willing to work 12 hours plus
exactly.
5 to 7 days a week and just come in every day like, yeah, let's do this.
I often, because you drive a lot in LA, a lot of time in the car, and like the last the week before I went back to Holland, I would pinch myself and be like, why the hell am I doing this? And this never popped into my head, and then I understand why that is, because you're so crazy obsessed with what you're doing, you're so passionate, and all these hours, yes, you get, it's tiring, but at the same time, this is for me, this is just what I do. And I remember Quentin Tarantino, he has one of those quotes. I remember when he had like a new girlfriend back in the day, and then she would complain about, he's always with this movie stuff, and he would just say, "Well, I just make movies. That's what I do," and it's super simple, but I feel exactly the same way about it. This is what I do, and I don't know anything else aside of that. Now here, I've been like, I haven't been shooting. I will be shooting perhaps in 2 or 3 weeks. I was shooting like the first thing, and I'll go back to LA hopefully. But I was sitting back home, and my parents saw that I was not feeling well. I was kind of a little bit
Mhm.
depressed, to be honest, because it's a big
Well, you're just
difference
out
from
of your
LA.
environment.
Exactly,
It's like
it's
a
a big
fish out of
difference.
water.
Definitely. So and then they were like, well, you can go to the, carpenter around the street, and perhaps you can help him out. And then I realized, like, man, I didn't study anything. I can't do anything. Then I'm such a stupid. At the same time, no, I don't think it's stupid, but I just feel like, wow, I'm so far away from the normal society in a way. I'm just
Yeah.
living so much. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
It's
we're all the misfits.
we are, yeah, and that's so beautiful when you put those people together. You get
Hmm.
something unique. Damn, yeah.
Anyways, Nick, I think it's coming to our conclusion. I would love to do maybe another recap. Hopefully, once you come back in, we can get you in our studio instead of just this
Oh
little
shit,
box
yeah,
right here.
definitely, guys. Oh my
But
god, yeah.
yeah, I look forward to that. And do you have any shout outs or any plugs you want to drop real quick before call it a
Well, thank you guys for having me, and you were one of the first that I will visit when I come back to LA. Honestly, I have my list. I go to Taylor, I go to Nickelo, I go to you guys, and just see what's up. I'm very happy to be involved in in the entire how this all happened, how I got in contact with you guys, and how we're going to work together in the future. It's very exciting, and it's very important for me because I feel that's one of the most it's a very important asset for me as a DP to have a solid relationship with with you guys. It's just very
yeah.
important to me.
And we definitely
That's
want to continue to build our relationship and flourish together. So yeah, man.
definitely.
Anyways, to our audience, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope y'all can join us for next time. And if you have any other filmmakers that you want to have come on our show, just tag them on our comments below, and we'll hit them up and make this happen. And yeah, thank you so much. Be safe, and same to you,
Thank
Nick.
you.
With you having all your sicknesses, man, the last thing we want is to hear some bad news. So knock on wood.
Knock on wood. I'm good. I'm good. No worries.
All right, have a great one. For you, morning. Have a good morning.
Definitely. Oh, I'm gonna sleep, man. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
peace out, dude.
Okay. Thank you, man. Peace. Bye.